Hello, Captains, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, USS Endeavor, and we are continuing the British Tech Tree Destroyer series. We are now at Tier 5, which means it is time to feature the Icarus. We're going to take a look at the ship stats, the commander that we're using, which is going to be very familiar because it's the exact same from the last two, from the Wakeful and the Acosta is the exact same. But we'll go over it in case you haven't seen it yet. It's a very special build, one that does take a lot of promotion orders and insignias and commendations, but once fully maxed, this is a commander to be reckoned with on this line. So sit back, Captains, get your popcorn, your drink, and a nice comfy chair. Let's get right into the action by taking a look at the commander build. Mr. Reginald Terwitt, who is fully maxed at a 16-4, we have spec'd completely into concealment, but the biggest thing I want to showcase is the Smogathon. That is the legendary perk, which makes this whole build worth it. And you're going to see why in here a second if you don't already know. It gives you your smoke screen back before it completely dissipates. And we'll see that here in the stats real quick. But first, we're going to look at the mod slots, which we have 2 of them now because we're at Tier 5. Same aiming systems mod 1 for the first, and in the second, we are using the steering gears because the British line comes already equipped with the acceleration mod attached without you having to do anything. In case you didn't know. Fun fact, by the way. Now on to the consumables, and this is where this Smogathon really comes into its own. The smoke screen dispersion time is greater than the reload time, and you don't see that unless you're using this specific build. Meaning you can just sit in smoke for eternity if you want to. Not really, you only have 8 of them. But the one thing you do also get, which is new, is the sonar. And that's going to stay for the rest of the line, as you're able to detect ships up to 3.5 kilometers away. On to the survivability, 12,100, which is 900 hit points greater than the Acosta. And this whole ship is a little bit better than the Acosta, but there are some things about it that aren't different, which, as we're about to talk about, the guns. The artillery, it's the exact same amount. Everything about the artillery, the main guns, is exactly the same from the Icarus and the Acosta. The only difference is that you have a slightly longer firing range. Everything else about it, from the fire chance to the damage, the reload, and the 180-degree turn time, is the same. This, however, with the torpedoes, is where it differentiates. These torpedoes, you actually get 10 of them that can also be single-fired in 2 quintuple launchers, and they reach out to 8 kilometers as opposed to 6, and they do a 3-knot faster speed to 65 knots stock. Your AA defense still sucks. So, yeah, that hasn't changed, and we haven't benefited at all from our AA up to this point. The maneuverability has actually gotten a little bit better. You're slightly faster. Your turning circle radius is at 540 meters, which I believe is slightly better, but it's still fantastic. I do know your rudder shift time is better at 2.4 seconds stock. This is a very maneuverable ship that can also increase its speed in turns. Don't forget that. Your concealment, though, fully spec'd into it, is still not as good as the Acosta, even though you have the exact same guns. The ship is, I guess, it's just a little bit more detectable. So 5.4 kilometer detectability by sea. Yeah, it's just a little bit worse, but it's still good. These are my individual ship stats in standard matches, whereas I have just a little bit over a 54% win rate. But I've gotten a little bit better than that, and you'll see in these 2 gameplays. On to the armor, it has seen a slight upgrade from 10 millimeters to 16 millimeters. So technically, if a cruiser with AP was shooting at you that had 203s or less, you could bounce them. But let's be honest, that's not what they're going to be shooting at you with. So here we go with the very first game. Both of these maps that we're going to be playing on, the first and second, are going to be on condensed versions of maps that you're familiar with. So this first one, we're on North. We do have capture points, which is always good. I think these make for the best gameplay. They also give you the best opportunity for high XP games. So plus having objectives to go for kind of helps allow the ebb and flow of the game to work just a little bit better than if it was just strictly capture the base mode. So here we go. We do not face a carrier in this game, which is good because our AA defense is absolutely trash. Just kind of looking back to see what ships we have to help support us. But normally on this side, you're able to utilize that big island off the right-hand side of my ship to be able to still cap, because usually it's one cap on the bigger maps. But because this is a condensed version, B is the one that everybody's going to be fighting over, and I spawn on our home cap on A, and we are going to be protecting this, or on C, sorry. We're going to be going for A, which is what the enemies have. Now, I'm going to be throwing torpedoes out here because it's more of a zoning nature. And also, don't forget that with this, from Tier 5 on up, you now have the sonar, which is not the greatest sonar. It's a very long duration. It actually lasts for 3 minutes, which is the longest sonar duration in the game as far as I'm concerned. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the British line, for the destroyer specifically, have the longest duration sonars. Now, they don't have the longest range sonars. They're on for quite a while, but the range is usually 3.5, and that's it for detecting of ships. It's a slightly lower for detection of torpedoes, but you get plenty of notice if you have your hydro on. Here I was hoping we would spot a destroyer, but this Mackinson is bound and determined to just push straight on through and get right into our home cap, which is a bold move. Let's see how it works out for him, Cotton. So anyway, we are going to smoke up, and we're just going to start peppering this guy. And I haven't seen any destroyers yet. I'm still going to try to keep my head on a swivel in case one decides to pop up. But we're going to stay here and also kind of utilize our smokes. Now, the Mackinson does have, I believe, a hydro, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the Tier 5. The Mackinson is the Tier 4 German battle cruiser. So he may not be equipped with the sonar. I just featured this line not too long ago, so I should know this. But I believe it's the Tier 5 that finally gets it equipped. Kind of like the British line. You don't get your sonar until you get up to Tier 5. So I could be wrong in that, but in the moment when I was playing this game, I was a little concerned that he had his hydro, so that's why I pushed out of my smoke like I did. But I'm also now spotted because he's within my actual visual detection, but he's not focusing me at all. He's looking at he's tunnel vision on the battleship that's right in front of him. And so we're continuing to shoot, and we threw torpedoes on him, but our team does a great job of mopping him up. So now that ship is down, unfortunately, we've lost 2 of our own on the other side of the map. So we're already down in ships and in score. Bravo still has not been taken by either side. And this ship that now is in front of us, we're going to go ahead and tag along with him and push up. Because I need to get into Alpha. I need to start spotting a little bit better. Anytime I see a battleship positioned better than me out in front, I kind of get a little upset at myself for allowing that to happen. I did back up a little bit, but that's just because the Mackinson decided to YOLO straight in for reasons I don't quite understand. But he's gone, and now we're going to go ahead and push up. Now, moving up here, we do see that the Derflinger is up here. And actually, no, I am now second-guessing myself because the Mackinson is the Tier 5 and the Derflinger is the Tier 4. So maybe I was right, and he just didn't utilize his hydro that he could have used. Anyway, water under the bridge. So we're going to push up here into Alpha. And again, trying to maintain that awareness for the destroyers. However, the Derflinger looks like it is the closest ship to me based off of the bearing locator. Not quite sure why none of the destroyers decided to come over here, as both caps were on this side. And if you notice, it looks like that Derflinger is not playing. So, yeah, that's a problem. As we now lose another ship, and we are down 4 ships to 2, although this Derflinger isn't exactly playing, so I would consider us only down by 1 ship. However, this Derflinger could come back at any moment, so we decide to put single fire torps right on the line, right where he's parked, and if he decides to start moving, chances are we'll miss, but if he doesn't, we're going to get him. So at this point, I've kind of moved on. I'm not going to pay attention to that ship anymore until he decides to move. But because our battleship is off off the rear side of our ship, he could mop him up if he could. But those torpedoes ring true. And yes, we get a devastating strike on an AFK ship. So yeah, I get it. Part of this XP is going to be skewed simply because I took out a free kill ship. But you know what? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I took advantage of a situation just like any of you would. There, we finally get the cap, and we open up against this Rattlehead, which apparently was waiting for us, and took shots, didn't hit us, and our team was able to mop him up. Now I'm located, and so now I'm thinking that the destroyer has got to be close to this side. If I'm located, then I am the closest ship to them, and they have a bearing locator like I do as well. So that's always information that you need to utilize whenever you see that. If you are located, you are the closest ship to the one who is utilizing that perk. So now we have our torpedoes back, and we're going to start throwing them on this gap on the right-hand side and a little towards the Andrea Doria, who is pushing towards us now. And the goal is to, well, for one, survive, because we are down in ships. We have the cap control, and eventually we are going to overtake them and score. So it's very vital at this point that I stay alive. Just spotting for my teammates, that especially the battleship that's over in Alpha. That's what the Andrea Doria is focused on right now. And my suspicions were correct. That Nuremberg did come through that gap and narrowly misses our torpedo strike, which is another reason why I like this line, because you're able to stagger your torpedoes, especially in single fire. If you just simply put it only on the indicator, then the likelihood that you're going to hit with all of those torpedoes, unless they're AFK like you saw earlier, becomes very difficult. However, when you stagger them and you kind of spread them out almost in a haphazard fashion, it's hard for them to spot or figure out or plan how to dodge that. So don't be afraid to kind of get a little weird with your torpedo launches, because sometimes that can be beneficial. It'll definitely throw them off. If I were to see that some sort of cattywampus pattern of torpedoes that were coming my way, I would it would kind of freak me out a little bit, but it would also distract me, which is another cool feature. Even if you don't necessarily hit them, you're making them uncomfortable, and when you make them uncomfortable, they make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, they get taken out. That Nuremberg, though, was pushing right into that battleship, and he just kind of got taken out by that. We decided to stay on our smoke screen because we wanted to kind of focus and get some fires and kill the Nuremberg earlier. But in doing so, these torpedoes just sort of magically appeared, and that's the one thing I like about this line as well. You can really accelerate getting off to a dead stop rather quickly. And because of the maneuverability of these destroyers, we were able to dodge that set that was from the Tier 5 Geed. Now, again, I was sitting in my smoke screen. I was throwing shots towards these ships, and the destroyer on the enemy team did a very good job of throwing torpedoes right in that smoke cloud. Like we have constantly said, smoke screens are torpedo magnets. Speaking of torpedoes, we were able to take out the Andrea Doria because he's sailing in a straight line. He knew I was out there, so I'm not quite sure what he was doing. Maybe it was the fact that we had the cap control, we had the points lead, and at that point, the only play for him to really make was to push that cap to try and flip that. So he was kind of forced to make that play, and that's another reason why whenever cap control is so important. Here, because those torpedoes did come from the direction where my bearing is located, and I am located, so we both know relatively where each other is. And at this point, I'm looking at the score. I'm looking at the ship count. We're up in ships by 1. Yes, it's a 3v2. We have the cap control. There is plenty of time left on the clock. There is no reason for me to push here. If I pushed, yes, I have the battleship that's behind me that would likely give me support, but I don't know that for certain. And make sure that whenever you get in these situations, you're looking at everything. How many caps do we have? How many ships are left? What is the wind condition? If you've already got the wind condition, then don't play foolishly. And that's why I'm not pushing this destroyer. I don't know what his health is at right now. He could have me, yes, I'm practically full health myself, but the Geed, like we said in previous videos, they have really good sonar and smoke combinations. I believe the Geed's sonar can reach out to 4 kilometers, whereas ours can only reach out to 3.5. So he can outspot me with his hydro. He also has smoke if he still has those things. It is late in the game, so the likelihood that he has those at his disposal may be not as likely. So it's kind of a give and take. I don't know anything. I have to assume that he has those things. So that's why I'm not pushing towards him. I'm staying with my battleship, especially since it's now a 2v2. But again, we have the cap control. We have everything that we need to win. I don't need to win harder. I just need to survive. And I'm glad that our battleship over here is doing a good job. Even if he were to die, I think we're okay. Here, if you noticed, I popped my hydro because we have 3 minutes of hydro, and that's practically exactly how much time we have left. So I actually strategically planned to turn on my hydro so that it would be on for the last remaining 3 minutes. Just an extra advanced tip or strategy if you have that at your disposal, and that's why it's good to know how long your hydros run. The British, they run for 3 minutes. They're the longest duration, and it's going to be able to give me the very important information at the very end of the game. So as that's running, I feel a little bit more confident that I can kind of push. I do want to try and spot these torpedoes. As you can see, the bearing indicator is over in that direction, and there we spot those torpedoes, which is only going to help our battleship evade those. And here, now that it's pretty much at the end, I know that he's over here. I'm assuming he's going to push into the cap, but still haven't seen him yet. I'm just being patient. Throwing torpedoes in the direction that I think he is anytime that I have them. And hopefully whenever we spot him, we'll be able to focus him down if he ends up ever getting spotted. So at this point, I feel pretty confident now that we have the points lead, and the time is pretty much down to almost a minute left. He is forced to take both of us out now. He has no other recourse. He just shot his torpedoes. I don't really know how fast he can get those back, but here we notice that he is very low on health, which is a welcome sign. So we go ahead and open up. We get a couple of penetrations, really whittling him down to practically nothing. And then here my RNG decides to just play with me, and I don't hit him, and neither does our battleship. So we finally get one more shot, and then we finally take him out. So that was the end of the battle for our first game. I thought we did really, really well. We survived all the way to the end, maintaining our health relatively full the entire time, and taking the top of the leaderboard at 2284 XP. So on to the next game. Now, I thought we did really well in that first game. We did all the things that we needed to do to survive, which is what you want to do in a destroyer. And in this map, we are on Hotspot, the condensed version of Hotspot, where the hottest spot is going to be at Bravo, which is where I spawn. And I'm telling you right now, this game was even better than that last one. And this game lives up to the name of the map. It gets hot, and it gets hot fast and furious. So buckle up, captains. This one's going to be fun. And so right off the bat, I'm not going to spoil anything either. So I'm going to try. I don't like spoiling things, but my wife always tells me that I kind of, whenever I get something and I really want to surprise her, I end up just kind of giving it away before it's due, like on a birthday or an anniversary or something like that. So I'm going to try not to spoil stuff because I like the anticipation of knowing or even not knowing and figuring it out as it goes. So I'll try to do better in that regard, but I'm not always that great at that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back onto the gameplay. Going into Bravo Cap, oddly enough, I am kind of surprised that nothing has spotted us yet, or rather, nothing has gotten into Bravo to contest it. So, had the cruiser spotted for a little bit. Now we got the New Mexico. There's no reason for me to shoot at this venture. And now it is contested. So this is where the fun begins. We've got something in here. More than likely, it is the destroyer. And there I can kind of see over this rock that I got right in front of me, a little bit of a puff of a smoke screen. I don't know how many times I've preached this, and it's starting to get a little old in my head, and I'm getting kind of tired of saying it, that smoke screens are torpedo magnets. But until people start figuring it out, I'm going to keep preaching it. So I throw a couple torps right in the gap. Thankfully, that torpedo accidentally hit the island on the Reds, but so does half of mine right there. I just obliterate the corner of that island. And not quite sure what this T-22 is doing. He's pushing awfully aggressive up there. Not exactly the play that I would make. But there's the Rattlehead that has decided to come into the fray. But unbeknownst to me, I get a torp strike and a dev strike and a first blood against the enemy Geed, which, I'll be honest, was the scariest destroyer to go up against. And now that the Rattlehead has lost his destroyer, he is forced to have to spot, so he is going to push straight out. Unfortunately, he was able to take out our T-22, who, again, unwisely decided to push that cap just a little too much. The Rattlehead does have a hydro because it's basically a Marblehead, which is the American cruiser, or like the Omaha, they have that. But thankfully, my teammates do a great job of obliterating him and taking him off the board, because up close, the Rattlehead could have rattled our cage, so to speak. So now that he's gone, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. I'm still not able to take the cap, so something else is in here. The only other thing that I think it could possibly be is maybe a cruiser that's on the edge, or the other destroyer decided to come in here. Tisk, tisk. Man, I said I wasn't going to ruin and say stuff. Never mind. Just forget I even said anything. Anyway, there is the Devonshire, which is on the edge of the cap. And but we also have two battleships that are coming right into the fray. Like I said, it got hot here, and it got hot awfully fast. And it kind of decided to stay hot. So as these battleships are kind of moving over towards the gap, I'm going to start throwing a couple torpedoes that way. Just kind of staggering them and shooting as I go, because I really want to catch these guys off guard. Still throwing a couple single fires here and there. There we get a fire. And I'm just going to keep, as much as I can, pestering these guys. And what do you know? There's the destroyer that I didn't realize was in here until just now. So now that I know that he's in there, I got to maintain that and keep that in mind. So we got a destroyer, two battleships, a cruiser, and a far battleship that's on the way outside on the edge over there. So pretty much the rest of their entire team minus one ship is over in this section, and we are still fighting to get this cap, but it's contested by the Jaguar. We were able to take out that destroyer earlier, and then that Rattlehead is gone, so we have had a ton of action over here, which can be a little unsettling. I am thankful that there wasn't a carrier in this match, because I think that would have definitely ruined this game. So here we decide to throw torpedoes, and because that battleship is coming around the corner, we pop our smoke so that when he comes across, he's not going to be able to see us. Thankful something is spotting them right now. I thought it would be me and they would go dark, but alas, they're lit. So we're going to start shooting at them and try and setting another fire. And because that Hyuga put out that single fire that I shot at him, that torpedo hit that he gets is going to cause a flood, and it's going to be permanent. And that is going to spell disaster for that guy as we get a fire on the New Mexico. We're dodging torpedoes from the Jaguar. A whole bunch of fun stuff. So now that these guys are pushing in, we've got to figure out where this destroyer is, and we got to start taking them off the board. If there's one area where I mess up in this match, it's right here. I push around the corner, I see the Devonshire, I get lit up, and everything basically is right there, and I'm kind of caught with my pants down. So I pop my smoke, but I can't stop fast enough, and I actually drift outside of it, as you can see. And this next salvo from a bunch of them just really takes could have been a lot nastier, but we basically lose half our health as that flood eventually takes out the Hyuga. And now we have the New Mexico, the Jaguar that went dark and is on life support, along with the Devonshire that is on the corner. So I'm really hoping I could try and get a fire on that battleship, but we're not able to do so. And there the Jaguar drifts inside our Hydro. So this is that Hydro smoke combo that I was talking about. And here I'm like, how in the world are we not killing this guy? And he's still not dead. And so I got one last shot before I clear the island, and we get him with that last shell. So thankfully the Jaguar goes down, so we were able to take out both destroyers single-handedly. That's a great job on our part. And now we're going to have to focus the battleship that is remaining in the cap. We just had a really tough time trying to take this section. I knew it was going to be a tough bout. And here I'm hoping that the New Mexico just keeps drifting out here. One thing that I failed to realize, in one kind of advanced tip, I guess, is that whenever you shoot torpedoes like this, as you're going to see here in just a second, the battleship's about to get spotted again right there, and then I throw torpedoes on the indicator. Well, he's going to see that first set of torpedoes heading his way, and what is he going to do? Well, he's naturally going to turn out. So the second set that I shot is not going to find its mark unless he's just stupid and decides to sail in a straight line, which he doesn't do. So once you see those torpedoes coming in, unless they hit him, then the second set that I shot doesn't have a chance. So just another thing to kind of keep in mind is that if you're be aware of where you threw your first set of torpedoes, because it's eventually going to make them turn if they have, more than 2 brain cells. Which, I get it, it's Legends and there's, potatoes everywhere. Here, I mean, the New Mexico is so close to being down, and we're just not quite able to finish him off, and we miss out on a kill right there, which unfortunately is going to spoil a Kraken for us. Yeah, I know, I spoiled it again. I just can't help myself. I'm bad with that. But here I'm pinging the map because the 2 spots that I pinged are the exact locations of the last 2 cruisers. And I'm thankful that my battleship captain that's on my team behind me is acknowledging that, just so that he's aware. Just giving information as I know. We did lose that cap in the lower left-hand corner of the map, but we finally got Bravo cap. Took a while. It was very hard fought, but man, is it satisfying to be able to finally take it and own it outright. Now, I do know that the Devonshire is over here, and the bearing locator is showing that he hasn't really moved from this spot. So at this point, I kind of know that he's probably waiting for me to make this play, but that's why I have my smoke screens available. So as soon as he becomes lit, his guns are already facing over here, and so he takes a shot at me, misses. I pop my smoke, which allows me to disengage, and now he is turning to come towards me. He does have hydro, so if he gets within a certain distance, he could really mess me up. So that's why I'm disengaging. I'm turning around, and I also want to get these torpedoes off, and I'm going to single fire them again all around the island that he is currently traversing to try and get me. So I know that he has to make this play in order for there to be a win, and if he doesn't, I'm able to successfully disengage. But he is pushing around that corner, and he's going to have a really hard time dodging all of those torpedoes, and we boink him on the nose and we take him out. And that is how it is done. As you can see, we got 4 kills. If we would have gotten that New Mexico who was on life support earlier, we would have gotten the Kraken. And I felt like we got really, really close to that. But unfortunately, it's not meant to be, as the last ship is the Graf Spee, the Bravo edition, who is dead. So there we go, captains. A hard-fought victory, especially in that cap, which was a lot of fun, and Hotspot definitely lives up to its name this time around. But over 3,000 base XP, top of the leaderboard. Just missed out on the Kraken, like I said. But anyway, that's going to do it for the Icarus. And boy, that was a lot of fun. And now we get to what was my favorite ship of the line. And every time I got the next ship, it became my new favorite. So the Jervis, the Lightning, and then the rest of them all the way up, the Jutland and the Daring. They're all fantastic ships. We're gonna have a lot of fun, captains. We've had a lot of fun up till now. It's just gonna keep getting fun. So stick around. Can't wait to share more for you. And until next time, this is the USS Endeavor signing off.